Hi, it's Jenny here. I'm going to put out my first YouTube video today. I'm going to discuss with you my personal journey of my mental health and my well-being, nutrition, and everything that I've learned along my personal journey, and how I've got to a point in my life where I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to help people on their healing journey, learning journey, and hopefully be the type of person that I needed going through my own experiences and going through my struggles. So I'm going to start with where I sort of my learning journey really began. I was around about 7, and we would go on holiday as a big family with the extended family, and I would often find myself alone with a gentleman there, and he, what I know now, would be start to groom me. He was an older gentleman, and he would often you know, we would be on our own, and we'd be walking, and it would be a lot of touching and asking me whether I liked what he was doing, and he would lock me in a bedroom, and you know, I realised what he was trying to do was groom me. At the age of 10, I was extremely brave to tell this man that he mustn't touch me again, because if he tried to touch me again, I would scream and I would tell everyone around. So that part of my life actually finished there. He must have really got the message, but I think I began to transform myself into a boy, almost. Like I stopped wearing dresses, I put on weight. I think what I kind of realised now what I was doing was trying to make myself unappealing to boys, and to be quite you know, bolshy and brass, and sort of want to have a good fight, and you know, be quite physical. And then around about the age of 10, I remember we were brought up in a social club. Me and my brother. My dad was the chairman of a social club, and I remember a particular incident where there was a lady, and she had with her 2 nephews, and we, for some reason, I was up in one of the offices that were there, and it was away from the families and the drinkers, and I remember this lady bringing her nephews upstairs and locking the door to the office and telling her nephews to beat me up, and they did that. They started kicking and punching me, and I remember just standing there frozen and looking at this lady, and being just so scared and confused how an adult could be that way with a child. And I think after that incident, I really became very angry. I felt like I was on my own. I felt like everything that I had to deal with in life, I had to be my own best friend. I also experienced, because my dad was he was a political figure, I also experienced people being extremely negative with my dad sometimes, and I remember feeling like, why does my dad take that? Why doesn't he ever go back? And I kind of thought, my thought process was, no one's going to do that to me. So I think it was perpetuated really that I was just an angry child. I started acting out and, you know, doing really silly things, and just climbing out the window at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was just, I was kind of out of control at that point. I then in my teens met up with had a couple of boyfriends that weren't very nice. I think because I wasn't emotionally there, I wasn't a secure child. I think I wanted to fix other people, and I chose boys that needed fixing because I think it was down to the fact that I needed to be fixed. But yeah, so I really chose some bad boyfriends that weren't very nice. And then going into my 20s, I met my husband and my husband-to-be, and we sort of dated for a while, and then we got engaged, and children were on the agenda. So at the age of 27, I think, I moved in with my boyfriend at the time, and I was we settled down. I was 31 when I had my first little girl, and it really was a shock to the system. She was lovely, beautiful times, but one thing that sticks out to me was that I didn't know how to relate to the moms. I found myself sort of not knowing how to act, almost like it was totally out my comfort zone to talk about baking cakes, and I'd always been a real tomboy, so I felt like I wasn't I didn't fit in with the mums. You know, they were all talking about as I say, baking or making things, and being very homely, and I just felt like that wasn't me, and I seemed to be a little bit rough around the edges, but life went on, and unfortunately another pivotal moment for me was my dad. He developed cancer, and it was a real shock to my system. My dad had always been such a big player in my life, and it was just I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how I could help him. I really wanted to, but I didn't know how I could. He was rushed into surgery. There was a tumour pressing on his spine, and the oncologist said that if Dad has an operation straight away, that would really help, because it's pressing on his spine, and he won't be able to walk within a week. So of course we sort of did what the doctors wanted us to do. And Dad had to come out of the surgery. We began to realise that things weren't right with Dad, and I really pushed for the nurses to understand that there's something wrong with my dad. He's not responding. There's something not there in his eyes. As it turns out, his stomach had flipped. So they had to rush him into surgery again. At that point, they told us that Dad might not survive, and we really prayed together as a family, and it was a hard time. Dad survived the operation. He then stayed in hospital for maybe 6 weeks after that, and really. The cancer had spread, and Dad was sent home to die. So even though we knew that we never spoke to Dad about it. He really wanted to see if there was anything out there that was new. You know, he wanted to have this advice from the doctors. Is there any new treatment that he could try? But his body wasn't strong enough, and in the end we were there to witness Dad passing, and it was really special to be there, the three of us, me, Mum and my brother, to be there. But then shortly after, I had the urge to want to have another child within probably a month after. And what I know now, what I was doing, and I didn't really consciously realise at the time, was that I hadn't grieved for my dad, and I think I wanted a child to replace the love. And when my youngest daughter was born, she started walking really early, like she was 8 months. And so by a year she was running around, and I was burnt out. I remember just feeling like I was just on my nerves all the time. I then had a great bright idea to have surgery, because I'd got a slight prolapse, but I think it was more affecting my self-esteem, and I wanted to feel like my body was back to normal. It was only a prolapse. It was only a stage 2 prolapse. But anyway, I had the operation, and I remember thinking after the operation, I don't know whether this was the best thing with Roma just running around, and obviously it was quite a major operation, so I was supposed to rest up. Me and my husband went out for a meal a week after this operation, and it was only going to be a quiet one because of me recovering. But we went to a wine bar after we had our meal, and I ordered my usual vodka and soda water. Because my palate's really dry, anything sweet I taste, and it's not something I like. I don't like sweet drinks, so I drank you know, my vodka and what we thought was my vodka and soda, and it tasted sweet. And my husband went back up to the bar, but the barman reassured us that it was vodka and soda water, and I drank about half of it. But as we were leaving and getting into the taxi, I collapsed, and I literally had 2 drinks. And I've been a seasonal drinker through my life. I'll quickly go back to that actually now while I'm talking about it. Because of being brought up in a social club, I started drinking. I was being served by one of my friends beyond the bar when I was 11. So drink had always been a part of my life, and as I'd gone through the years, I was a real sort of weekend drinker to excess. But again, you know, I didn't want to admit that to myself. I was using this as a way to escape. But yeah, so we'll go back to the story. So I collapsed in the taxi, but I'd only had 2 drinks because of recovering from this operation. I woke up the next day and I felt really bizarre, and just, I mean, I was burnt out at the time anyway, but I just felt it was just, I was vacant, or it was like a vacant feeling somehow. I went to bed on that evening and I couldn't sleep. I was having lots of shaking going on in my eyes, and it was just really strange. I'd never experienced anything like that before. And I remember feeling quite scared. I told my husband how I felt, and he was downstairs, but he came to bed with me to reassure me, but I just couldn't sleep. And I couldn't sleep the next day. I couldn't sleep the day after that. I got extremely scared very quickly, my body, what I know now, went into massive fight and flight. It quickly developed into depression, and obviously going to the doctors, the first port of call is to put you on antidepressants. The antidepressants that I was on didn't work for me. One brought me out in a big rash. I was desperately trying to find alternatives to antidepressants. I quite quickly came across a gentleman in my area that does hypnotherapy. I started going to him, and I wasn't aware at the time, but he wanted me to go have diazepam to go into hypnosis, and I had no experience of hypnotherapy, so I really didn't know what to expect. He gave me 30 mil? 30 mil? I don't know whether it's 30 mil, but he gave me 3 tablets to put me into hypnosis, and I came away with more of these benzodiazepines, and he told me to listen to his CD and use these tablets. And then something just didn't feel right. It was like, I'm sure I shouldn't be doing this. I researched the gentleman, and as it turns out that he'd been arrested for doing the same thing, and I got in contact with the police, and they wanted me to press charges, but at the time, because I was going through such an emotional situation anyway, I didn't have the energy. So I hoped it would just sort of be that somebody else complained, and then they could sort of, press charges. It was a horrible experience to go through, because it really highlighted to me that when you're vulnerable, and really, it made me aware that people who are vulnerable, they're taken advantage of by these crooks, and with no morals. It was just, I can't get into the brain of an individual who would do that. It's just strange. So that was an experience in its own. And then I found TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation. That was such a godsend for me. That was what brought me out of the grey or the black, and just catapulted me back into reality. How it works with TMS is it's the 2 hemispheres of the brain. So the left treats depression and the right treats anxiety. The left is theatre burst, so it's more of an intense feeling, and the right side for the anxiety is knocking. It was such a godsend for me. I started feeling so much better. Off the back of that, I started having CBT, and it was just plain sailing from there. I did start acupuncture. I had homeopathy, and I started massage. So I really, I was dealing with the detoxification, and the combination of the treatments really brought me back to balance. And then life carried on. I studied for nutrition. I became a nutritionalist and supplementation advisor, and I was really becoming very comfortable, and looking forward to the future, being able to help other people that maybe have gone through a similar thing. But I carried on drinking, and I carried on beating myself up about drinking, because my brain knew that I was doing the wrong thing by still having so much alcohol over the weekend, and almost being in denial about it, but you can't escape your brain. So I felt bad about that, because I shouldn't have been drinking the way that I still was, and I started feeling like I was getting quite fat under my arms, and it didn't sort of sit well with how I felt my body looked. I would focus on this area, and I started having fat dissolving injections. I didn't research what was in them, because I knew it was the wrong thing to do, really. I started having the injections out, like it was once every 2 weeks, and I was beating myself up about it. Why are you having this done? This is not what you should be doing. You stand for wholeness and nutrition and a positive way of living, and then you're having these injections in there. And 2 weeks before lockdown, I found a lump near my breast, and it was in the area where I was having these injections as well. And as soon as I found that, it was spiraled back into this not sleeping, and back into the situation where I was in before. And again, I became fearful. You know, I was sort of in shock at going through it again. I water fasted for 3 days initially, and what's called autophagy took the lump away. I'm assuming it was a cyst, but this is what fasting does. I mean, you know, that's for another show, but I just love the benefits of fasting. It's just such a good thing, but I'll talk about that at some point. So yeah, I was beating myself up. I knew it was the wrong thing to do, and then off the back of that, I felt like, have I got cancer? After doing the water fast and that taking it away, I'd still got this problem. I was still looped back into that cycle. So then I started researching again, researching all the time, and I found a lot of natural therapies that I didn't the first time round. And to start with, I went right back to the TMS. It didn't work for me this time. I don't know whether it was because it was the cause was different. It didn't do what it did for me the last time. So then I tried a number of things. I bought an alpha stim, which works on the alpha waves of the brain. It's supposed to be calming. It didn't seem to really calm me to a point where I was healing. I tried hypnotherapy again, and that was helping somewhat, but not not alleviating the depression. I did meditation, I did self-hypnosis, I did lots of things, long walks, and listening to positive affirmations and inspirational speakers. I went to a crystal healer. I did all my herbs and the vitamins and minerals that I trained in. I knew what to take, but I was using those as a crutch. They became just something to take to try and take away the anxiety. I did bio-res, I did neurofeedback, and nothing really sort of was enough to alleviate my symptoms. So I then felt like I was really at my wit's end. I didn't know what I was doing. 5 months had gone by of me desperately clawing through every day, and the next day being the same, and every day telling myself that tomorrow will be different, tomorrow's going to change, you'll be different. And I did that for 5 months, and I was so tired. I just didn't have the energy, and my husband was really sort of always trying to give me pep talks and motivate me, and I just didn't have the energy. And I then told him that I thought it would be best if I went into hospital. Very scared, didn't know what to expect, never been in a mental hospital before. You get these images, you know, that we all do, that it's you know, being sort of in a padded cell and being around a lot of strange people. I'm going to go into detail of the hospital on another video. This is just an overview really, but it ended up being the best thing that I ever did. I met some wonderful people. I met some not very nice people, but really the nice people shone through for me. I was able to stop, assess, read. I'm going to show you a couple of the books that I read that really made a great impression at me at the time. I was able to not be mom, not be wife, not be anyone other than the person I needed to be in hospital. I gave over the need to change things or to sort of take anything away. I sort of give myself over to the process, and it was the best thing I did. What I now know was that I did radical acceptance. I went through radical acceptance and sat in the moment and didn't try and change. And you know, these books really helped me. And I started talking to a psychiatrist in there, and the psychiatrist was psychotherapist I think, was really good. She was so knowledgeable. She'd gone through panic attacks, anxiety, depression. It was like talking to myself. We mirrored each other, and it really helped. I was able to be released after 6 weeks, and coming home, it was rocky initially, you know, because of all the trauma I'd gone through was predominantly in my home. But it was, you know, it sort of fitted in. I did start on a regime of antidepressants while I was in the hospital, but I feel more than I know that they have helped me, and this is a big pill for me to swallow, because you know, I really do believe in natural health, and you know, not reaching for a pill for everything. But you know, I really had to swallow my pride, and they were very helpful, as well as me understanding what I needed to do and having that time to myself to really think and sort of, you know, do that. And it's been wonderful ever since. I know my identities took a massive knock, because I think I came out with the mindset of how can I be a nutritional and supplementation advisor now when it didn't work for me. I really thought, well, what can I do? You know, I thought that was my passion. I sort of toyed with doing a mental health counselling course, and as I was researching something kept coming up, and I kept seeing life coaching, and it just clicked, that I thought, you know, I'm gonna go into life coaching, and I'm gonna be able to encompass the nutrition and the supplements with being able to do a certain amount of counselling, mirroring, you know, sort of helping a client to understand that we don't always need to take something or do something to change our circumstances. Sometimes we've just got to be in the moment. So I'll be talking about the particular course that I've enrolled on, and then I came up with the idea to do YouTube videos to sort of put myself out there hopefully in the best possible way, to talk about my experiences and why I want to help clients in the future. I'm laying myself bare. I've got no makeup on. You know, I I don't want this video to be false, if that's the right word, in any sort of way. I want to be really transparent and talk about my feelings, my experiences, and as I go along with the videos, I want to interview the people that are involved in my care, the therapies, the numerous therapies that I went through. And even though they weren't fully beneficial to me, in the sense that it didn't quite take me out my circumstances, but I know that they are a really good option for people, and people aren't aware that there's other therapies, natural therapies, that they could try instead of having an antidepressant. It's really just to just let people know that, you know, they have got choices, and there are things in the area that we wouldn't know about. So yeah. That's going to be something I'm really looking forward to. So I think that concludes the first video today. I'm not going to edit, I'm not going to change anything. I hope I haven't stumbled too many times. But any topics that you feel would be beneficial. I know obviously we're going through COVID at the moment, so I'll be touching on that and my views about COVID. So any topics, any other things that you think might be of benefit for me to talk about, then just, you know, get in contact, and I'd love to do that. So I'm gonna leave you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.